Greetings, sisters and brothers. I want to send happy New Year's wishes to sisters and brothers everywhere. A new year is always a great opportunity to recommit ourselves, rededicate ourselves, and to begin a new chapter or to re engage in activities that perhaps we had drifted away from. The key message here is never ever surrender or give up on a just cause that you passionately believe in. Never surrender. So let me say a few words to Ugandan sisters and brothers, our beloved country, Uganda, in terms of General Yoweri Museveni. And also, I would like to say a few words about what we in diaspora can do to try to alleviate some of the conditions created in Uganda as a result of General Museveni's misrule over the last 32 years. And to me, I think one of the big ones is the 85% youth unemployment. I think really we in diaspora owe it to ourselves to see what we can do to help the young people in Uganda. Imagine if you were one of those young folks in Uganda. We see the statistics, 85% unemployment, but it's sometimes hard to feel their pain because we are not in their shoes. So I would ask that we try to imagine that we're in their shoes. We see how the adults have basically destroyed their future, their potential, and their hopes. Because one individual has insisted for 32 years that he's the only person that has a vision or ideas in Uganda. So I feel very bad for those young folks having their life really crushed before they even live their lives out. So I feel a special commitment to try to want to do something on their behalf and encourage more of us in the diaspora to do something about it if and when we can. But before I speak on that issue, let me touch briefly on General Museveni. He's been in power for 32 years now. He's going to give a New Year's speech to the nation. All the broadcast networks have been compelled to carry that speech. The only thing of interest that General Museveni can say to Ugandans is that I am resigning. But obviously, he will never say that. Dictators like General Museveni are usually forced from power. General Museveni's whole 32 years has just been a series of lies. And I don't expect anything different from his speech. He will talk about the problems of ideological disorientation. He'll talk about the need to build infrastructure in Uganda, the need to train skilled workers in Uganda, the need for regional integration so we can have huger markets in Uganda. In other words, he says all the nice things, but all the things that he has been unable to do in 32 years. So what would give anybody with a brain, any confidence that he will be able to accomplish it with any extra time? Remember when he came in, 86, he derided African leaders who stayed too long in power and they're not even able to produce a needle. Well, he's not only failed to produce a needle, but Uganda has actually been deindustrializing during the 32 years that he's been running the country. He's promised to take us to middle income level. Uganda has the lowest average income of the original East African community members. Kenya is on top, followed by Tanzania. And Uganda trails very badly with a wide margin. So obviously, there's no way that he can uplift Uganda to middle income level. Look at the last election, the one he stole from Dr. Kizza Besigye in 2015 election, when in fact Dr. Kizza Besigye is the legitimately elected president of Uganda. I'm sorry, the 2016 elections. And the three elections that he stole before that. What was he making? What promise was he making to the people? He was promising a hoe to farmers, not even a tractor, but hoe. Hoe is an implement that people have been using for centuries to till the soil. That is what the dictator of Uganda is promising after 32 years. You know, it would be different had he managed to do what Lee Kuan Yew did for Singapore, for example. He was there for decades, but he took Singapore from a poor country to a country with average income of $50,000 today. Museveni, today Uganda's per capita income is less than $2,000, and he's still justifying the need for him to continue his dictatorship in Uganda. So it's all nonsense what he's going to be talking about in his speech. Basically, nice words, but false promises, the kind of false promises that he's been spewing to Ugandans for the last 32 years. Let me speak on 3 other topics, and then I'll move to what us in the diaspora should be doing in terms of helping the youth in Uganda. Not only is the dictator a serial liar, but he is a serial rapist of the Constitution of Uganda. 2005, he forced Parliament to remove presidential term limits, which had limited presidential terms to 2 5-year terms. So that was gone, and that's why he's been able to pose as if he's actually running for elections, and then, of course, rigging the elections and awarding himself the presidency. Now, the last protective measure that Ugandans thought would finally end the tyranny in Uganda was Article 102B in the Constitution, which disqualifies anybody who's 75 years old and above from running for president. Well, as Ugandans know, recently he forced the parliament, because most of the members come from his ruling party, the National Resistance Movement. He forced them, he bribed some of them, intimidated some of them to remove Article 102B. Now, I understand there's going to be a court challenge, so let's see what happens with that. But it seems that as of now, General Museveni has now set himself to be life president of Uganda. And obviously, we need to continue resisting this. And we in diaspora, we have to engage the governments that have been helping General Museveni. Here in the United States, Ugandans know we as diaspora, we've been very active, engaging all the past U.S. administrations, forcing them to answer why are they financing a dictatorship such as Museveni's that's not only spread misery within Uganda, but by the multiple invasions of neighboring countries has caused much destruction and much loss of human life. And I'm happy to announce that recently, the Trump administration in the U.S. National Security Directive made a critical announcement, and people can read it on page 52 and page 53. It's on the website of the White House, www.whitehouse.gov. And it says that any African government, officials, as well as institutions, so this includes the military, of course, and police forces, that engage in brutality will be sanctioned, number one. Number two, any government involved in corruption, foreign aid will be suspended. And it says it's better to suspend it rather than have the elite steal it in African countries. Obviously, this affects both of these directives, affects Uganda as well, as we all know. And one other point on that issue. In the past, the U.S. administrations have been protecting Ugandan officials, even when they were caught in alleged corruption schemes. But I see that there seems to be a different approach this time. As Ugandans remember, in November, the U.S. Justice Department announced that in its indictment, it alleged that Foreign Minister of Uganda, Sam Kutesa, had been wired $500,000 to his bank account in Uganda as a bribe from a U.S. bank. So this is the first time that we see the U.S. is actively naming and going after Ugandan officials. And in the same indictment, they also said Kutesa has solicited $500,000 on behalf of General Museveni. So we don't know whether the money was actually ever sent to General Museveni. The indictment says the Chinese businessman Patrick Ho, who bribed Kutesa, went to Museveni's swearing in after he stole the elections, and he brought special gifts to Uganda for both Museveni and Kutesa. So we don't know whether that could have been valuable items or it could have been the money that was referred to in the indictment. But anyway, it's good to see the U.S. now taking a more active role towards the Museveni dictatorship. Okay, so, and I really strongly urge that sisters and brothers, Ugandans in the diaspora, in other countries where they reside, should also take a similar approach in becoming active towards the governments in the countries where they live, and also force them to take a much more critical approach towards dictator General Yoweri Museveni. Enough with General Museveni now. Now let me talk about what I believe we in diaspora can do to help young sisters and brothers, the 85% unemployed youth. I think we need to come up with programs that raise funds, seed money, in order for these young people to start their small enterprises. You know, in Uganda, people are very creative. All they lack is seed money. All they need is a chance. All they need is somebody to believe in their hopes and dreams and aspirations, given that the government of General Yoweri Museveni has abandoned them. So if we can find ways to raise funds, whether they get seed money of $100 for small projects, $250, $500, $1,000. So I encourage all of us to start programs where we encourage these young people, youth as well as women, to send us business, small business ideas, business proposals, and then we select some of them and we provide them with the seed money so they can find ways to create income generating activities for themselves. And I feel we can really, really go a long way towards uplifting the hopes of the youth, because as of today, their hope has been crushed by a dictator who not only lies to the entire country. Remember, he was on NTV saying he was not going to run for president when he's 75. Well, he may not run, but as of now, after he's removed 102B, he can actually run if he wants to. So a person like that who lies to the entire nation and has lied on so many different things, a person like that, you wouldn't even probably want him to raise your kids, let alone run a whole country. So imagine how the 85% unemployed youth of Uganda feel today. So let's step in and try to help them. Let's revive their hopes and their aspirations. I am personally working on a project right now that hopefully will be able to raise funds. And I'm not talking about large projects. We don't have to be multimillionaires or give them thousands of dollars. Many of them just need a little seed capital to at least be able to generate some income and help themselves and also help their families. So we're talking about hundreds of dollars here and there. So I'm right now putting together a project that will be able to raise some of this kind of money. And I would like to start helping some of the youth beginning around March 2018. I will be announcing this project, the details, very soon. I'll send the information out on social media. But I encourage all of us in diaspora, whichever country we reside in, to come up with similar programs like the one that I'm talking about. I'm also going to create a Facebook page called Uganda Diaspora Action Group, where we can share ideas on projects such as the one that I just mentioned, so we can really help the youth of Uganda and the women of Uganda. Just because we have a ruthless dictator of 32 years, it doesn't mean we cannot actively help our young people and women in Uganda. So Ugandans, on that note, listen to General Museveni when he addresses the nation, and listen carefully to the lies that he's going to offer the nation. The only thing, as I said, of interest would be if he announces his resignation, and that is not going to happen. But on that note, 2018 is a new year. Please, let's rededicate ourselves. Keep hope alive. Never give up. May the Creator protect you and your family and all your loved ones, and wishing you the best of health and wishing you a happy 2018. Peace and blessings, sisters and brothers. Stay strong. Keep hope alive.